Well, I'm going to talk about the circle of belonging today and what shape it should have. You might think a circle is a circle, but no, there are some nuances. Many people wear clothing that is loose on one end, especially sort of an end that's thrown over a shoulder, or some wear a shawl that needs to be held in place. And our worship associate Barbie reminded me that some need to put our hair in place when it's getting out of place. And she is going to show what I'm talking about. A pin or a brooch can be used to hold things in place. We all know that. But I always cringe when I think of putting a sharp pin, a sharp point through a beautiful fabric like silk or wool. It hurts my feelings, not just the fabric. But not all pins are the same. I have one here today. I brought it with me, and Barbie has a drawing of a large size of it. I was going to let this go through the room, but it has a sharp point, and I don't want to have anybody hurt themselves and sue me or something terrible like that. But I'm going to take it with me downstairs, and if you want to examine it, you can. Some of you may use these pins, but it's the first one that I've had. So this pin is special. It holds fabric together without making holes. Celtic people sometimes use something like that to hold fabric that is draped over the shoulder. There are really three parts to it. The first is a circle, and you can see the circle is not closed. It's what is called a penannular circle, one that is almost closed but not quite. Then there's the pin, that's that horizontal thing sticking through it. The pin is not fixed to the round side. It can slide around, and in fact, I'll do some of that in just a moment. It can slide around the whole penannular circle. The pin does not have to go through the fabric. It goes under the fabric, and it comes out through that opening. So that opening has more than one function here. And there may be a leather strap or a belt behind the fabric. And then the pin slides, and this is the magical part of it. Let me see if I can draw this. Thank you. So what happens is that this thing that holds the pin, it can slide. So when you have all your fabric shirred together nicely, you slide the pin over in this way, and now it's here, and it's still under the fabric, but it's now, where is it? Now it has come through here, and we slide it in this direction so that it is anchored. How many of you know how these pins work? I'm not the only one who wasn't quite sure how they work, but they are fantastic, and they will not hurt the fabric. Thank you. So to me, a pin like that is like a symbol for a space where everyone belongs equally, as I will hopefully explain. So let's put the pin to the side for now. Many of us have been asked occasionally, and definitely will be asked, where are you from? And often this is informative, nice, and not at all offensive. For example, when I was on a bus with other American tourists visiting a Mayan temple in Mexico, the person next to me would ask, "Where are you from?" And I say, "Michigan." I may even use the palm of my hand, I guess I have to do it this way for you, to point to the exact location of my hometown. They will nod politely. And then the other person may say, "I'm from Virginia." And we may start a conversation. It's all friendly, it's all good, and eventually we reach that temple. But suppose that I'm in a situation where I'm giving a talk at a conference about an academic topic, but also an important social and political topic, like the advantages of raising the minimum wage. I've done this quite often. After the talk ends, somebody comes up to me and asks, "Where are you from?" Rather than asking a question about the topic of my presentation, I may play along and say, "Oh, I'm from Mount Pleasant, not so far from here." And then, the person will ask sometimes, no, where are you really from?" Well, now I may get that impression that I'm not being asked so much as being told. I can tell the person thinks, "You're not from here, you're not from us, you're not one of us." And of course my accent typically gives me away, as it gives away many people from various ethnicities. And the same happens with skin tone, with cultural habits, with clothing. There are just all kinds of markers that give away that we're not quite like the mainstream. And for those of us who already feel different in a given space, being asked where we are from carries implicit assumptions about our race, our caste, our ethnicity, our nationality, and so on. And often it translates into, "You don't seem to already belong here." And sometimes the question becomes a statement like, "You're not from here, are you?" Even though that sounds like a question, it's not really a question, it's a statement of fact. And sometimes someone may say, "Oh, you speak English rather well." The implication of either of these questions in those kinds of situations is always, "You are different. You're not from here. You do not really belong, not as much as I do." And sometimes in politics or even in an academic conference, the implication is, and I've heard this said also, "Don't tell us how to run our country." I read an interesting article about this whole thing. It's actually titled partly, "Where are you from?" It's about where are you from questions, and it was written by somebody who published it in the Harvard Business Review, a respected publication. It's in the issue of October 2020. It was written by Rakshita Arne Ravishkadar. I won't ask you that name after the service. So this author asked, "What's wrong with that question?" And I'm quoting the author here. The author says, "For those of us who already feel different in a given space, being asked where we're from carries implicit assumptions about our race, caste, ethnicity, nationality, and so on. You don't really belong here," it says. And the author goes on to say that none of us have just singular identities. Most of us belong in many different places. We may belong in many different geographies. If somebody asks me, "Are you American?" I can say yes. If somebody asks me, "Are you German?" I can also say yes. And if somebody asks me if I'm Dutch, I can say yes as well. There are a couple of other things that I can say yes to. We simultaneously live in different cultures and identities. And many of us do not identify with the labels that we're born with. We change. So the question, where are you from, is kind of reductionist. It's simplified. It puts us in pigeonholes. It categorizes us, and therefore it can be hurtful. It reflects existing power structures. I'm in the middle of the circle. You're kind of just barely in there on the margin. How did you sneak in? And much more of that is going on these days. There are so many of us today in the United States who wonder, what did I answer on my questionnaire when I applied for citizenship? I'm wondering, did I make a mistake somewhere? Also, what happens when this is done is that it makes us into representatives of a much larger group, a group that we may not want to represent. So these days, I try, at least myself, not to ask people where they are from. Although I ask myself that question. I was just recording a answering message on my phone for the care line, and I was listening to it, and I was thinking, that person sounds kind of foreign, so I'm doing it to myself. People are going to ask, where is that person from? So I do it too. But there are perhaps better questions that I can ask. And the author of that article in the Harvard Business Review says that nowadays they answer that question by putting on a confident smile and saying, I know I'm different, we all are. Or you can answer the question with another one. Thank you, but is there a reason why you asked me where I'm from? And this might just get that other person to a point where they think about their own biases. I sometimes wish I had one of those little balls with me. They're little rubber balls that show the Earth as seen from space, and all you see is blue with white swirls from the air currents. And then I can take this out when people ask that question. I can point to it and say, I'm from here. Where are you from? As a Unitarian Universalist, the whole thing reminds me of our value of pluralism, one of those 6 values that we espouse. Those 6 values that are centered on love. And about pluralism, we can read its description. We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. So our reflection on the question, where are you from? Or where am I from? Would be along the lines of, we're all from this earth. We may differ in age, in gender, in sexuality, in experience, in ethnicity, in culture, in spirituality. But we are all sacred beings. We can live our value of pluralism more deeply and think, no single belief system holds all truths. When many voices are encouraged and included, we can foster a more complete understanding of the world. Now, let's go back to our brooch. This is what our special brooch represents symbolically. The opening in the almost circle, in the penannular circle, allows someone to enter the circle. The fabric that is gathered together represents all of us. None of us get poked, hurt, or excluded. The pin slides around so that it holds the fabric together lovingly, without hurting it. And that hold represents our values, in particular, the value of pluralism. And this is how we may build belonging. May we keep this penannular circle of belonging in mind. May it be so. Let us rise in body or spirit